Welcome to Hands-on Tarot, where I show you the many ways you can use tarot for more than just divination and help you grow your tarot practice. I'm Susie Gourlay, and I've been using tarot for many years to create my future rather than just predict it. Today we're going to be talking about divination on a tarot front with different tools. So for example, playing cards and dice are a couple of the things I'll be going into a bit today. So you might have heard other people have been using a regular old 52 card deck of playing cards to read divination. And it's a highly cost-effective way of reading. Packs of cards are a lot cheaper than a pack or a deck of tarot cards. But you can absolutely read with playing cards just as you would a tarot deck. So I'm just going to show you a couple different ways of doing that. And then we're going to talk about dice, using dice to help in your readings, which is always kind of a fun thing to do as well if you like to collect trinkets and stuff like that. I'm also briefly going to touch on charm casting, but very, very briefly. So to start with playing cards, just going through, so this deck is the Halloween Dreams playing cards by Paulina Fay. Like many others, Halloween is one of my favorites. So, and I really love the art within this deck, and each card is different. So it very much reminded me of tarot. So I had to get this one as well. But anyway, so in looking at playing cards, you can read the tarot just as you would, for example, ace through 10 being just like the ace through 10 within a tarot deck. You can look at the jack as the knight, the queen as the queen, and the king as a king. The only thing that is a little bit more difficult is obviously we don't have 78 cards, so you can't add in the major arcana as easily. The Joker you could use as a fool or as a surprise waiting for you, but we definitely are more focused on the minor arcana within a deck of playing cards. So looking at the suits, the diamonds would be the suit of pentacles, and I can see that based on diamonds being, you know, kind of like money, I suppose. Like I always get a bit turned around because for me clubs seem more earth-like, but it is more widely accepted that the diamonds are the pentacles. Clubs would be your suit of wands. The hearts, of course, would be the suit of cups. That one's a bit easier to remember. And the spades are your suit of swords. So we have our 4 suits within a 52 pack playing cards. You could also look at it between the different colors as a red being a yes, a black face for no, or opposite if you prefer as well. You could also read them more intuitively. So for example, the clubs could be a sign of luck for you, you know, with that 3-leaf clover in there. The nice thing with reading with playing cards is you don't have to worry about reversals if you don't read them. And you can also use the numbers on the cards for the numerology as well. So there's a lot that you can do with, I'll add in my jokers here again, with playing cards. So I'm just going to give these a bit of a shuffle. I have not used this deck yet, so I'm going to shuffle it a couple times. Another thing that's kind of cool that you could do with a pack of playing cards, unlike a deck of tarot cards because of the size, is if you know some fancy moves with shuffling or you know, hand tricks that you could do with playing cards, it's much easier. Because tarot cards are a little bit too big for a lot of that. So you could look up some fancy tricks for shuffling cards and amaze people even with that alone. So I'm just going to do a quick 3-card spread here, just to show you. We'll do, you know, what's coming up for the next week for me here. So we're at the end of March, looking into what April's going to bring for me. So I'm going to pull 3 cards. We'll look at kind of body, mind, spirit, I suppose. So, oh, we got the Joker, the 7 of Spades, and an Ace of Spades. So let me shuffle this a little bit better here. Okay, 5 of Clubs. So I'm just going to flip these over so you can see the nice images on there. So if I look at this as body, mind, and spirit, for the body I have pulled a Joker. So this could be the Fool representing the image there, or it is kind of an interesting Fool for body. He does kind of look like he's you know, has a bit more energy than I likely probably will have at the beginning of this upcoming month. But, you know, spring is in the air, and people are feeling a little bit happier. We still have snow here in Saskatchewan, but it should hopefully melt fairly soon. So having a bit more energy within the body would be a really good sign with that. I don't want to look at that as being a surprise happening, because that's never a good thing. When you're over 40, you don't want surprises in the body. Mind, I have the 7 of Spades here. So as I'd mentioned before, that's like the 7 of Swords. So, you know, I might be deceiving myself a little bit when it comes to perhaps how I'm feeling if I don't have the energy that this Joker is representing for me in the body aspect. You know, I should give myself a bit of rest in that way, just because this is a time of renewal and a time of fertility. I should really listen to, you know, my body and react that way, especially within mind. But also keep in mind that you know, some new ideas are probably sprouting. I do have a couple things to share on that aspect when I show you my charm casting. So to not let that kind of simmer away, I need to, you know, take action in that area, but to not be deceiving myself if I don't have the energy, but to also try to, you know, have a bit more gumption when it comes to creativity and stuff that's been on my mind, have a bit more of a focus there. And spirit, I have the 5 of Clubs here, so that would be the 5 of Wands, 7 of Swords, and the 5 of Wands isn't always a great combination, especially with the Joker in there as well. But looking into the beginning of April, I see possibly some conflict happening, and it could just be conflict within my own mind and body. As I had mentioned, I might be deceiving myself a little bit here. I can also look at this card as perhaps I just need some more training, instead of looking at it as a conflict, as more of a challenge and a lesson to learn. You know, I should maybe put a bit more focus on the things that are working for me, and maybe not put so much pressure on an area that is not. So when a 5 comes up, it could be a challenge, it could be a reason to take action. So especially in the spirit aspect here, I do want to take action so that I'm turning this 7 into a bit more of a positive movement, rather than deception and putting myself down the negative or not so positive path, but moving it in a forward progress. So that's an example there. Because I also have no red cards within here, as we had mentioned, you could use red for a yes, and I have black suits here. So beginning of April, you know, might be a good time to not put so much pressure on myself, to take action and movement. but to really focus more on my passions and my focus for the good. So that's an example there with using playing cards. So if you have a deck at home, pull it out, give it a shuffle, see what comes up, give it a try. There is a really good book by Corey Thomas Hutchinson, who wrote New World Witchery. I believe it's called 52 Devils. I'll put the link to that one within the notes so that you can check that out as well. And it talks about using playing cards for divination. And you can also find playing cards outside, and sometimes I will look at those also as a sign, you know, if you happen to find, say, you know, 4 of hearts outside, that perhaps you're missing something that brings you joy, and you're not doing stuff that, you know, where you might find happiness. So, you know, if you find a playing card outside, you know, you can have a little bit of a divination session with that. I know I had read online somebody who collected playing cards that they found outside and wanted to know how long it would take for them to collect a whole deck, and it actually wasn't that long. But they lived in a place with a lot of casinos, and I don't live in a place with a lot of casinos, so that might be kind of a fun experiment for you to try as well. I do have this illuminated tarot that I found online. It's not one that I was really drawn to originally, because I saw that there were only 53 cards within this, and then for them to call it an illuminated tarot. But during one of my Magpie patchwork deck trades, I did get one of these cards, and I actually really loved the drawings on it. So I wanted to show you this deck as well, which uses that playing card idea and incorporating tarot in it. So the cards are a little bit bigger. So if I look at, you know, a regular tarot card, the size is a little bit different here. So they're a little bit wider and a little bit shorter. Looking at a regular size playing card, you know, they're definitely bigger that way. So if that's something that's on your mind, just to let you know about that. So they use the same way, where clubs are wands, diamonds are pentacles, hearts are cups, and spades are swords. And as you can see, this ace of clubs here, so it would just be like an ace of wands, so that spark of inspiration, but they're also including the major arcana card of strength within this card. So this deck is really cool because they do combine major arcana within doubling up kind of on the cards as well. So just going through the guidebook here, another one, for example, so 6 of clubs, so that would be the 6 of wands and the tower for a revelation or drastic shift in perspective. Let's see another one here that has, so the 7 of diamonds, so that would be the 7 of pentacles, and the star as hope or healing. So if you think about the 7 of Pentacles card within the Rider-Waite-Smith, there's an individual looking down at their garden and kind of leaning on the hoe and waiting, you know, to reap their reward. So it is a symbol of hope that, you know, that they've put work in and they're hoping to receive, you know, something good out of it. There's that 7 of diamonds there, and the star. So if you're interested in combining playing cards and tarot and including the major arcana, the Illuminated Tarot by Caitlin Keegan is a really great deck that does just that. And to show you the card that I received that I really loved, it was this card, the 8 of Diamonds, with the sewing and the quilt there. I was really impressed by that card, which is what changed my mind about looking into this deck. And the nice thing with this is it's fairly inexpensive as well. So this is a nice one if you're looking to, and that noise is my cat playing with some dice. Tom, enough. So the other thing I wanted to show you is using dice. Thanks, Tom, for that segue. Using dice within your tarot practice. So I have a collection here. Not a lot of these are very expensive, but I do have my Dragon Age Dread Wolf dice set that I was kind of waiting for to show you for this podcast. So the way that you can use dice, so using DnD dice, and these ideas I got from Tarot Aesthetic on Instagram, so I will post the link to their Instagram for you to check it out as well. So we have a D4, a D6, where's my D8? Oh no, that's not a D8, that's a D12. D8, D10, D12, and D20. And what you can do with these is, for example, a D4 can be used for the 4 suits of tarot, the 4 seasons, 4 quarters in a year. You can use it as the 4 elements as well. So you can use a D4 to do quite a bit within tarot. The D8 can be used for planetary associations, like moon phases, for example. Let me find that one. So there, the D8 is that one there. The D10, let me pull that one out. I'm still kind of learning these myself. So this is the 12. Here's the 10. So the D10 can be used for card numbers, so ace through 10. So you can roll that and say, oh, I got an 8 of, and I have a 1 here. So I would maybe associate 1 with swords, for example. So I have an 8 of swords. You would have to kind of put these in your mind on what the numbers would represent before rolling. So yeah, 8 of swords. You can also look at it as time frames. So, you know, if I look at, you know, even for, you know, percentage, I could say, okay, looking for from, you know, 1 to 100, although there are dice that do have this, D10 that do have percentages on it. So I can say, oh, I have 40% there. You know, I'm 40% of the way to my goal, and I have another 60% to put in, or perhaps I'm only putting 40% in, I need another 60%. You know, 50% is you're halfway there, that sort of thing. Of course, you can use the 1 through 10 as numerologies I'd mentioned, just like ace through 10. You know, where 5 is challenges, 2s are choices and decisions, 4s are, you know, being too stable or possibly stuck, 6 is balance and harmony, that sort of thing. You can use a D12 for astrological houses, zodiac signs. So, you know, you'd have to probably look at a deck and walk map, an astrological map, you know, where number 1 would be Aries, number 2 would be Taurus, 3 would be Gemini, 4 would be Cancer. I have a 2 there, so, you know, I could look at that as being, this is in the time of Taurus, so coming up, you know, within April, and I can use it that way. A D20 can be used for major arcana, cards number 0 wouldn't really work, but, you know, number 1 through 20, so we're missing the world within this and the Fool. But for the most part, you can use it for major arcana. You can use it for difficulty. So in D&D, a 1 would be a definite no, where a 20 would be an absolutely yes. So definitely the closer you are to 20, the better your chances. So you could ask, you know, what are my chances on getting that new job? Roll the dice. Oh, I have a 4 here. That's not a great chance, but let's maybe look at how we can increase our odds. You can use the, as I'd mentioned, the numerology with the D10 to, if you roll a 5, for example, that could represent change or conflict and a time to take action. You can use a specific die for also narrowing down your options or your choices. So you could make a list and say, oh, I have, so using a regular D6, which is like the regular dice, I have, say, 6 options to choose from. So I can roll a dice and see which of those options might be the best one to take. And then you can go on from there to add a bit more depth to it using your other dice. You can also look at the odd or even numbers, which is, you know, much like geomancy, where odd or even numbers could be yes or no responses. So for example, should I take action on that dream that I had the other night? And this would be a 6 for yes. So even number, you know, might be a yes for me, and odd would be a no. So that would be the 6 there. So there's lots that you can do with dice. You can also use 2 6-sided die to do your major arcana. So looking at the Fool as being card number 0. So if you roll the dice and they happen to fall off the table, well, then you'd get a 0. You can number your cards, you know, on a list. So Magician, card number 1, High Priestess number 2, Empress, Emperor, and so on. And then you would say, okay, if I roll a 4 and a 2, so that would be, not on here. What is my 4 and 2? The Hermit. So what I have here, for example, I can show you this chart here. Magician would be a 1 and a 1. The High Priestess would be 1 and 2. The Empress would be 1 and 3. 1 and 4, 1 and 5, 1 and 6, and then we move 2 and 2, 2 and 3, 2 and 4. So you'd make that chart for yourself and roll a dice. So if I'm looking for a major arcana card to represent, you know, whether I should, what can I think of here? So I'm looking for, say, a theme to a presentation that I have upcoming. What should I think of, you know, going into it? What kind of archetypal energy should I have? So here I rolled a 6 and a 4, and in that case, it would be the Moon. So putting my fears aside, perhaps speaking of my emotions, you know, keeping them at bay, but also speaking of my passions, and, you know, really use my intuition when speaking about a presentation. You know, you could think of something like that. Let's try another one here. So looking at, you know, what is my relationship with my new coworker? Of course, this is made up. But I have a 4 and a 3 here, so that would represent the card of death. So there is a transition happening, of course, with a new worker or a new coworker. There's definitely, you know, a learning curve to get to know each other a little bit more, and to see how you work with each other. So actually, death is a kind of a nice card to come up with that sort of question, because, you know, we do see, you know, people aren't always going to be the same. The new coworker is not going to be like old coworkers, but it might be a really positive change, and something that we just have to deal with, because there's always be changes in life. So, you know, that's a way you can use dice. Dominoes are another way to do divination. I do not have a set of dominoes and I've never used them myself, but I will definitely post a link on how you can use dominoes to do divination. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit using different items are charms, for example. So this is a thing that I'm working on right now. It's called the Caster's Sortilege. I have created a little deck here of charms and meanings. So for example, like the moon I have here. The inspiration I came up with this is I have this old prophecy board and it had some images of things on it. You know, like a ring or a bell. A key, of course, is one of those things. So looking at different objects and their meanings. So I came up with a bunch of meanings for these. And I've created a deck here called the Caster's Sortilege because I did want to include charm casting as well. So I do have a die, a 12-sided die within my Caster's Sortilege. I have different kind of charms like the sun, for example. I have a coin. These charms are used in folk magic. Horseshoe, peace sign is a bind rune. I thought the paperclip was kind of an interesting charm to use as well. A heart, a spiral, house. So a lot of these, I do have meanings and spreads within these as well for casting charms on top of the cards. And in here I use the dice. Where do I have it written in here? So the dice is a talisman for chance, unpredictability, gambling, odds, and also randomness. But I do have that you can use the cards combined with the dice. For example, rolling the dice once, pick a book from the shelf. You can roll the dice 2 or 3 more times to pick a page number, and reading sentences, so kind of like that book divination. You can use the dice for picking certain cards. Rolling the dice to choose how many cards or charms to draw from, looking at the numerology, planetary magic squares, all that sort of stuff. So this is something that I'm coming out with at the moment. Is just kind of being tested by a friend of mine who does a lot of the charm casting herself. So you'll probably see that come out this year. A lot of these actually started, so this is a casting board that I made, and I used the images from this casting board. I have created a bigger casting board to include all the charms that I have collected as well, those folk magic charms, and I've printed it on fabric, so there will be that available soon as well. And I have this casting board which I made for a class that I was teaching on witch runes, actually. So I use these casting boards with witch runes in divination. And these casting boards you can find for $5 to download on my website, but I'm coming out with cloth version as well, which are 18 by 18, so bigger boards that way. So using casting boards and charms is another way to curate, or curating a collection of charms to use for divination. So you can collect charms that include symbols that correlate to tarot cards. So the sun, moon, infinity sign, lightning like the tower, pentagram for your earth element, you know, that sort of stuff. And then you can cast them on your casting board to read them. So that's kind of all I wanted to cover in this one here. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you found this insightful and you want to give it a try and experiment a bit yourself. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at handsontarot@gmail.com. You can visit my website at suziegorley.com or find me on Instagram at handsontarot. Thanks for listening. I'm Suzie Gorley, and I see tarot in your future.